Can you please say your name and that's probably a good idea. Can you please say your name, your rank for retiring, and your position in the VFW?
Martin Yangling. I retired in 2010, United States Navy Seabees, and my position in the VFW is commander of VFW Post 2805 in Canoga Park.
Okay. What does the VFW do, and what does it stand for?
VFW stands for Veterans of Foreign Wars. It's the nation's only organization for combat veterans, and we provide assistance to veterans in need. We provide assistance to Home for Veterans in Eaton Rapids, Michigan, and we also provide scholarships for different competitions that young people have in high school, like the Voice of Democracy, the Patriots Pen, scouting, teachers, EMT, first responders, police officers, and things like that. We promote patriotism throughout the United States.
All right. What other VA services are there that you know of?
VA services?
Yeah, Veteran Affairs Services.
Veterans Affairs Services. The Veterans Affairs officers, depending upon your level of disability, medical care. And it also offers, if you're 0 rated, you're honorably discharged veteran, medical care, but they're set up in 8 priorities, and each priority group moves up the line to priority 1. If you're not service connected to any kind of injury or while you were on active duty, you're in priority 8. The worst is priority 1. If you receive a Purple Heart, you're automatically in priority 3. So those medical services like priority 8 would be if there's time available. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not guaranteed, but it's time available. Priority 3 through 1 are pretty much handled. You know, you get an appointment. And then the other benefits are schooling. They call it vocational rehab. If you have a disability that prevents you from doing something that you did in the military, they'll retrain you, send you to college, provide you what you need, and then help you with job assistance afterwards.
Is that kind of like if you enlist and then?
No, it's not the post 9/11 GI Bill. Okay. It's a separate program within the VA. Okay. The post 9/11 GI program is a benefit offered for service, honorable service in the military. It's paid through the VA, but you don't have to be going to the VA to use it. What happens is you apply for it, you go to school, and then when you're done, you're done.
Okay. What in people who have gained mental disabilities from being in war, like PTSD and other diseases or mental disabilities like that, where would they rank on that 1 to 8 scale?
It depended. You know, there's also what's called TBI, traumatic brain injury, and PTSD. It depends on where their percentage is. If they're 10% or whether they're 30%, 70%, 100%. It depends on where they rate them at, the level of difficulty they're having that these 2 afflictions have on them. Say, for instance, that's 50%. That would get them to priority 3. Okay. And then anything more than 50%, they go to priority 2, and 100% is automatic priority 1. So, like I said, there's a couple different injuries that work. It's TBI, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Okay. Do you think is the VFW funded through the Department of Veteran Affairs?
No.
No?
The VFW is a standalone 501c19 organization. Okay. It's a tax-exempt organization that raises funds to assist veterans.
So they're separate from They're
We're 100% separate from the government. We get our charter to exist as a 501c19 from Congress.
Right.
We are congressionally chartered. But after that, we are not government affiliated. We don't get our funding from the VA.
Okay.
Any funding that we have is through fundraising, donations, and then we put that out to the public, in different ways. Now we also promote sporting events, promote all kind of things within our community to help young members of our community, move through life,
right,
and enjoy the sporting events. We've sponsored softball teams, we've sponsored baseball teams, we have sponsored girls softball. I mean, it's gone the full gamut. We try to do as much as we can.
Okay. Does the VFW help veterans that are like out of work? Do they help them find jobs, or do they do anything like that?
We can. I mean, I've assisted a couple members, well, not members, but a couple veterans find work. If we don't have those abilities, I know where to send them and who to talk to. That's within the VA system, the Veterans Administration. And they normally go through that system and find work or get retraining.
Right, as you said, yeah. What could people do to help their local VFW posts and vet their local veterans?
Donate time during the fundraising events. Like you do, Celie, you come over and you help with things around the post. A lot of people work that they can't do. You've put together carts. You've done other things in the yard, and it's been amazing, your help here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Since you're a veteran, what's your opinion on the Department of Veteran Affairs or Veteran Administrations?
Veteran Affairs or Administration, either one. I have had no problems with the Department of Veteran Affairs. It's like any other system. If you don't learn the system, you will be frustrated. Okay. Any medical or governmental system has a way to work its way, and it's a maze. You have to figure out the maze, and once you figure out the maze, you will always get what you need. But if you don't figure out the maze and become obstinate, then of course you're not going to get what you need, and you get a bad attitude and things like that.
Okay. Do you think it would be beneficial for veterans if the Department of Veteran Affairs got more funding from the government, or more funding from an outside donation or something?
Well, the Veteran Affairs Department doesn't get funding from donations.
Right.
They're funded from the government. And in my experience is with the VA, I've been retired 9 years now, is that every year since I've been retired, their funding amount has gone up.
Oh, it has?
Yeah, it has.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. And that's because of President Obama prior, and now even more to President Trump now. So their funding has been raised. New construction projects, new hospitals are happening. The hardest problem they have is maintaining full-time, maintaining people in the system to work for the VA. A doctor getting out of school and doing a residency would make a lot more money in a hospital than they do at the VA. So I think there should be more incentivizing bringing doctors and nurses into the system.
Right.
You have to understand that a doctor, once he's qualified to work in the VA, or a nurse or a nurse practitioner, they're licensed to work throughout the United States. They say, for instance, get their license in California, but they work for the VA. They can transfer to Maryland and not have to get a Maryland license to practice nursing or being a doctor because they're federally covered.
Oh, that's
So they have the ability to move cross country at different jobs and move up. I just think they need to be paid a little bit more for the services they provide. I've not yet met a doctor that did not want to treat me, did not want to, did not treat me with respect, or a nurse practitioner. I've always received what I've needed. But I think we need to incentivize having them paid a little more on a scale, of a raise.
okay. Do like HMs and military doctors, do they work in the VA as well as like normal doctors and stuff
No,
like that?
not unless they get out and go to work, out of the military and go to work for the VA.
Okay.
Corpsmen and Army medics work in active duty military hospitals. Like there's a hospital in San Diego, active duty, and it's staffed by the Navy and Marine Corps. There's a hospital in, I'm trying to think where the other hospital's at. There's one in a small clinic in Port Hueneme. There's hospitals over in Okinawa. There's hospitals in Camp Pendleton. There's hospitals in Rota, Spain. Where all the major deployment sites are.
But those are all active duty.
Yeah, Washington State, there's a Whidbey Island, there's an active duty hospital. Yes, they staff the active duty hospitals. They provide the surgeries and different things like the knee surgeries I had on my knees prior to getting out. Yeah.
So do you know if the military has anything to do with the VA?
Medical?
Like medical or otherwise?
No, they pretty much don't. Like, let's say somebody was going to be medically discharged from active duty. What happens is a board is set up. It's called a medical board, and they look at the medical record of the active duty service member, and they determine a percentage. They offer them this percentage, and they pay them. Then at that point, they go out, submit their claim to the Veterans Administration. And the Veterans Administration looks at their diagnosis and makes their own by sending them out and getting checked. And once their diagnosis is done, they make a rating. It may be 30%, it could be more. Okay, so it all depends on how severe the injuries are of the individual.
Let's track this. I got a question in mind, but I completely forgot it. Do you think that the reason that the VA and do you think the reason that the Veterans Affairs has been getting more funding is due to more public that's more conscious of veterans and
service?
Veteran service and everything that goes on?
I believe some of that, a majority of that has a reason. It also has a reason that the proper Congress, proper Senate, and proper President and administration. And it also has a lot of, the VFW, the Disabled American Veterans, the American Legion, they all testify in front of Congress, telling them the issues that they run into with military service members. So once their testimony is done, Congress looks at it, and whether they recommend a bill or an increase is up to them, and then the president signs it. I was a beneficiary of what they call the choice program. You know as well as I do, I hurt my left arm, and the VA could not do the surgery until later, like May. So they sent me to a civilian doctor who did the surgery within a week, 2 weeks. They looked at my MRI, looked at my x-rays that were provided by the VA, and made their diagnosis, same as the VA's, and scheduled me for surgery and fixed the issue. So that was a pretty quick way of getting yourself repaired or fixed, or however you want to put it. And that Choice Act was started by President Obama and President Trump has increased it and pushed it even more.
Okay.
So we've had 2 presidents in a row that have pushed very hard, and President Bush pushed very hard for the Veteran Administration. President Bush pushed through the GI Bill, post 9/11 GI Bill. So each of them have had an opportunity to make a major impact on veteran affairs and things for active duty service members once they get out of the military.
That's awesome. Trying to think if I have any more questions.
I can give you a little bit of advice.
Yeah.
For an opportunity for a young person to serve in the military, today is awesome. They have enlistment bonuses going in. They choose their rate, what job they like to do according to their test scores. They go to school right after boot camp. There's leave in between, normally 2 weeks. Then they go to school, and then they are assigned their first duty station. But after they complete their time honorably, they're given something that nobody in the past has got. They're paid to go to college.
And that's amazing. Colleges.
The college is paid, and they are paid a stipend to live while they're in college. Their books are paid for. Everything is paid for them to go to college. Not only is the college tuition paid for, they're paid on top of that to amount of money to survive. Okay? And they're also paid their books. There's nothing better than that out there right now. Not only to mention that they can learn a trade. A lot of the different jobs in the military, like the communications, the computers, the different systems that are used in either the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. They could get out and get a job working for the contractors that build these systems.
Right.
That's another plus. And go to school then as well. They can go to school while they're on active duty with something that's called tuition assistance. Again, paid for by the government. I went to school while I was on active duty, got my degree. I could have got out, went to get my master's degree. But I was 47 years old and said no. And your cousin went to college on my GI Bill. So that's one of the opportunities that's offered. I mean, they could walk out after 4 or 5 years active duty with a master's degree and have the time and the wherewithal to be able to go to school again and get a master's degree before they even go to the job market. And what are they, 22 to 24, and two more years, 26 years old with a master's degree.
Which is insane.
It is amazing, and owing no student debt. How amazing is that?
That's
a master's degree nowadays is about $150,000 to $200,000 in debt.
Yeah, I should ask Kelly about that.
Yeah. Your sister knows about the debt. Yes. So when you can leave the military, go to school, have a master's degree, and have no debt, you're starting new, is an amazing thing. So I would suggest it for anybody that knows that they're not going to go to college right away. Get situated in the military, then start taking classes, electives. You can take something online, you can take something right here at the University of Laverne down at the base in Lanini, or whatever base. The University of Laverne is everywhere. No matter what base they go to, they can go to the classes in the evening, maybe 1 or 2 times a week. That's tuition assistance. It's paid for. Get your degree, and you're good to go. And walk out of the military in 5 years with a bachelor's degree.
And the capability of making 6 figures.
Well, I don't know about 6 figures on a bachelor's.
Or not with a bachelor's, but the capability of it.
Yeah, you're going to start at the low end, and like anyone else does, and move up. That bachelor's degree done in the right field could gain you 6 figures in the future.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And then the opportunity to go to school and get your master's degree and be paid for doing it is even 10 times better. Not to mention the thrill of travel.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've been around the world. I've been to the South Pole 3 times. I've been around the world like 4 or 5 times. Every continent you can think of, and it's just amazing that. And I didn't pay for any of that travel.
Right.
So I've been to Spain, I've been to Europe, I've been to America, I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Okinawa, I've been to Korea, I've been to
Africa.
I've been to Japan, mainland Japan, Africa. You know, I've been into the Middle East. So I mean, to see places like Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia,
places that no one really goes to.
You really don't, you really don't experience that until you see it.
Right.
And no matter what you see on TV, it's different when you see it in real life. So the opportunities there to travel. The separation from home, that's one of the things you have to deal with. But it's hard at first, but it gets easier. But then when you get out and serve your time honorably, you're always going to have that remembrance. There's nothing that feeling about the camaraderie and friends that you make in the military. You'll never forget them. And if a young person's trying to figure out what they want to do in their life, that's the best option, I think. All right?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Uncle Marty.